For the truly most important part, Nick Walker.
Yeah, dog. What is up, guys? Back at it again with another video match outside. So if you hear the chickens chickening, then you know where I'm at. Finally got a response from Nick Walker and his coach about what happened. It was radio silence for the first 3 or 4 days, which, listen, I get it. Like, I could imagine the difficulty of just all the work and effort and the excitement and going into Olympia. And honestly, Nick has some crazy shots online. Nick has some freaky looking body parts, just what he showcased on Instagram and stuff, and just leading up to the prep. Everyone thought that he was just gonna come in and, I mean, minimum be top 3, like minimum. Like, I was for sure having him beat people like Derek Hen. Like, honestly, I had like Samson winning, Hottie in second, Nick in third, and Derek. But that's not how it worked out. Like, it's honestly the worst result with Derek winning. Anyway, so Nick Walker and his coach finally provided a reply, and I'm not really sure how I feel about it, honestly. So I'll play a little bit of the clip. Go ahead.
And the reality of it, for those that watched the show Friday, was clearly not the best Nick we have seen to date. It was not what we were expecting, nor was it what I truly desired as a coach. So the point of this video is to take full ownership of the peak being mistimed and therefore not presenting Nick to be at what he was fully capable of.
Now, basically, they're kind of chopping it up to a peaking mistake. So they didn't peak correctly. The peak was off. Whether that means they just didn't carb up correctly or whatever compounds they used, they weren't the right compounds and the right dosages. I don't know, but they're saying the peak was off. Like, the peak and how they did things was off. And I don't believe that is entirely the case, to be honest. I mean, I can say, yeah, he didn't peak correctly because he did come back Saturday night looking way better. But can you just chop up the entirety of that field performance just on the back of a peaking error, or the fact that he didn't peak correctly, or whatever the issue that they're trying to say was? Nick wasn't really in shape, and he was 7 or 8 pounds heavier than what he was in Pittsburgh. Now, 7 or 8 pounds on a guy that's like 5'7", I don't think you guys understand. That is a lot. That's a lot of fat or muscle or water, either way. Like, it's just a lot of weight. It doesn't matter what it's made of. It's a lot of weight. I don't think Nick Walker at this stage in his career, he's been on gear since he was 18, 19. He's, I think, 31 at this point. So been on gear for about 10 years at this point, minimum. Out of nowhere, he's putting on 7 pounds of lean tissue in a couple months from New York to the Olympia. What is that, like? New York to Olympia, you probably have like maybe a 2-month off season, and then the rest of the time you're prepping. New York was what? New York was in was it April or May? And the Olympia was in October. So it's not a lot of time to do any kind of off season, to rebound, to grow. So what is the 7 pounds made of? It's not all muscle. I mean, we can give him 3 pounds of muscle, and that's incredibly generous. 2 pounds of muscle. I mean, he's a freak, so I'm not going to put it past Nick Walker to put on some size from show to show, but 7? No way, bro. So he was out of shape. I think he was out of shape. Nick, like I said, he has some freaky shots going into Olympia. And I specifically recall, there's a photo of him doing curls with his arms and shoulders. And it's like, that's going to be one of those photos that lives in the bodybuilding archives forever. That's going to be next to like the Dorian Yates black and white photos. That's going to be next to like all these legendary photos, like Ronnie Coleman on stage with the shredded glutes, the dugout Christmas tree. Like, there's only a couple bodybuilders, like Flex Wheeler with the kneeling twisted double bicep. There's only a couple bodybuilders that have shots that are going to be forever in the archive of bodybuilding. Nick Walker now has one of those. That's a freaking crazy shot. Insane. He has one of them. But other than that, like looking big and freaky and like having perfect down lighting, and other than that, just wasn't in shape. Like, you can be as big as you want. You can be as hard as you want. But if you're not in shape, you're not in shape. And I made a video I made a video before this one. You guys should check out that video. Is a video right before this one, talking specifically about Nick Walker's best look. In my opinion, his best look was when he won the Arnold in 2021. That video, although Nick has a big waist, that was the best his waist, in my opinion, has ever looked, as him being a professional bodybuilder. His waist was controlled. It was actually tapered in. His quads looked a bit fuller for some reason. 4 years ago, he had fuller looking quads, but it could be more so the illusion of the fact of his waist was not as big, so his quads looked more proportion versus his waist being bigger now. It just takes away from the illusion of more mass downstairs. That's what I think happened. And ever since that Arnold, Nick has done good. Like he's won shows. Like he's came second to Samson. He's came second to Derek. Like he's obviously had a top 5 placing at the Olympia. He's had a top 3 placing. Like Derek has been able to succeed in bodybuilding beyond that look because he has a lot of muscle that carries him. The thing about that, he usually comes in shape. He usually comes in condition. He just wasn't in condition this time around. At least not of the condition that we know Nick Walker. Nick Walker doesn't have good legs, but he at least has decent separation. By no means is he feathered in the quads, but he has like visible separation between the teardrop and all the other supporting muscles around the quads. Like he didn't have none of that this year. Like zero, bro, zero. Like zero, nothing. So for me, I mean, I'm not his coach, but for me, being just like an enthusiast of bodybuilding, watching this thing for like 15 years at this point, the guy just looked out of shape. And I don't think that's my own opinion. Hopefully Tyler Mannion does a whole recap of the Olympia like he does for all the major shows and breaks down all the guys. He typically only does top 5. Hopefully he does top 6 talking about Nick, because I'd love to hear his opinion about why Nick got top 6 and not, 5th or 4th or 3rd, or like we all thought Nick was going to come in here and clean house. He didn't clean nobody, nothing. He barely cleaned himself. I know I might be coming off as a bit of a hater. Trust me, I do not hate Nick Walker like at all. I was part of the hype train, wanting him to do very well and wanting him to be in the top 3. I didn't have him winning, like I said earlier. I had him in the top 3, 3rd. I want to see the guy do well. Like I think he has, way more potential compared to like a Derek, for example. I mean, I know Derek with the shape and stuff, but the underdog story, everything that he just had to go through, missing the last 2 Olympias. So I was definitely on board with rooting for him versus being one of these people who wanted him to fail, essentially. But I cannot ignore the fact of what my eyes see. And based off of other preps, based off of just a look at the Pittsburgh, based off of the look at the New York, I don't think it was simply just a peaking error. I think it was the fact that he was just off and he had too much body fat and water. Obviously, it's a big blow to come 6th, going from 5th to 3rd to 2 years later going to 6th. But at the same time, I mean, you have Martin bringing one of his best packages. You have Andrew Jack bringing his best package. You have Hottie still peeled out of his mind. You have Derek, it's Derek. I'm such a hater of Derek, man. Like, I don't hate the guy. I just don't. I don't think that physique should be Mr. Olympia. He's missing body parts, bro. He's missing arms. He's missing front conditioning. He's missing side conditioning. He's missing quads. He's missing height. I'm not saying you need to be tall, but I just cannot get behind this physique being the representative for the best in the world. Anyways, not what the video is about. Nothing personal. It's all based off of the physique. Anyways, they got to go back to the drawing board. Hopefully Nick Walker jumps in one of these shows. We have Prague, we have Poland, we have a couple shows to round out the end of the year. And then obviously we have the big one for the beginning, which is the Arnold. So if Nick doesn't want to do Prague, maybe he needs more time or something, jump in the Arnold, come back. I'm sure he can win it. Samson is probably going to do the Arnold. He does it every year. I think Samson needs time off to grow and just get back to fullness and get back what he lost throughout this prep. So I hope, honestly, Samson just takes a break. I love to see a consistent competitor, and he's been incredibly consistent for years, but he needs a break. Derek, I don't think Derek is going to be doing the Arnold. Hottie might do it, maybe. I'm not sure. And if Hardy does it, then I mean, that's a wrap. Like, Nick is not beating Hardy. At least not that version of Nick. And I don't even think Pittsburgh or New York version beats Hardy either. Just my opinion, though. Martin, he can beat if he's on, but his physique has regressed, and can he save it? I don't know. Anyway, so that's the latest update about Nick Walker, what the coach says, and little post that he made. Honestly, not much of anything to go off of, but they got to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. So, quick video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Like, share, comment down below. And if you've not subscribed, make it a thing. Sub to the boy, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.